It's Friday night, which means it's time for another episode of the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast. I'm Ashli.
And I'm Casey. Last time we did our New Year countdown episode to cap off 2017. We made our exciting announcement that the podcast will keep ticking on in your feed every week with our new format, which we are now starting today in 2018.
We also put out our weekly Twitter poll asking you guys which Nick universe you liked the most from mine and Casey's top 2 picks. Fairly Odd Parents by far won out with 66%. Rocket Power had 15%, and Invader Zim had 19%. So pretty close on those two.
So I guess ultimately you won that Twitter poll because now that we don't have trivia, we have to make everything a meaningless competition.
Oh, but speaking of you guys, if you haven't seen it on Twitter already, Casey got me the most beautiful gift to commemorate his loss in trivia.
It's a doozy.
And it is, you know what, I'm just going to say, I don't even know if I can tell you guys what it is. I think you have to see it to believe it.
You should say it for people who don't have Twitter.
Fine. It is a wonderful painting rendition of Bold and the Brash. Is it The Bold and the Brash or just Bold and Brash?
It is an original Bold and Brash.
Yes. And it's on a beautiful canvas. I'm looking at it right now.
Because when I ordered it on Amazon, I couldn't find a good... I wasn't sure what was a good quality painting of it because all of the reviews just said belongs in the trash.
Which, you know...
Such a classic people on the internet move, though.
Also, I was thinking, we haven't done that episode for the podcast, right?
Ooh, maybe that's got to be a January one.
That's got to be coming up soon, I feel like.
Totally.
Anyways.
All right, well, this week we are doing a Rocko's Modern Life episode called I Have No Son. This is kicking off our new format for 2018 and helping us on our New Year resolution for the podcast, which is give Rocko's Modern Life an apology tour for the way we treated it in early 2017. We didn't hate it. We never claimed to hate it, but we were pretty like, let's just get through this. Looks like another Rocko's episode. And then Wacky Deli changed everything, and now we've found all of these wonderful episodes of Rocko's. And just real quick, I remember, Ashley, when it was announced that there would be a TV movie, we saw a Joe Murray interview where he said that these characters still have more to say. And we both laughed. We were like, what were they ever saying in the first place? But now that we've watched more of the show, it is ripe with social commentary.
Yeah, and I apologize. I apologize, Joe Murray. I apologize, everyone. This show absolutely deserves a TV special. I'm shocked it has one. Truthfully, I am. But I think it absolutely deserves one, and I hope it lives up to its same old quality.
Yeah, as do I. I'm a big fan of this show now. It's truly become one of my favorite Nicktoons. So I guess that major props to Rocko's Modern Life for changing my opinion in such few episodes.
Absolutely. Also, guys, be sure to follow us on Twitter at FNN_podcast, where you can see beautiful things like the painting that Casey got for me, as well as Facebook, facebook.com/FNN podcast. And please review us on iTunes so that others can find the podcast and hopefully love it just as much as you guys all do. We love having more followers and fans and hearing your guys' feedback, so, help us get the word out.
100%. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and for the first time in 2018, let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Alright, as Casey mentioned before, our first episode of 2018 is from Rocko's Modern Life, entitled I Have No Son. It's from Season 2, Episode 1, and aired originally on September 25th, 1994, which is about 11 days after I was born.
Yeah, it's the first note I took when I saw the air date was, you were 11 days old when this episode aired, and it was 3 days before my half birthday, so kind of weird to think about it in that way.
Yeah, obviously we were both far too young to be watching this show, and it seems so wild to think that, like, at that time when, you know, cartoons were still fairly new, this one definitely had to have been out there as far as things go. Not quite Ren and Stimpy level out there, but, you know.
But it's pretty
still breaking
weird.
some boundaries.
So this one's a 30-minute episode, and it introduces Ed Bighead's son, Ralph Bighead, who we have already covered in Wacky Deli, but this episode came out first, so this is his introduction. Ralph is estranged from his family because he chose the life of a cartoonist instead of becoming a corporate man at Conglom-O, like his father wanted. So this is just a romp of an episode. It is dramatically interesting, it's funny, and we see just about every major character, even if we only get Heifer for a split second.
Yes, and we've seen Ralph before on the podcast in Wacky Deli, right?
Yes.
And this one is a little bit earlier. He's not quite yet jaded with his starring show, The Fatheads. And
I think we need to take a moment and break down what The Fatheads is before we do anything else.
You know what? Fair enough. I mean, it's his star show. It's a big deal. He's making big bucks off of it, and it is not even somewhat subtly like parody of his life and making fun of his parents constantly.
And there's a meta on many levels in this episode. So Joe Murray, the creator of the show, voices Ralph Bighead. He based it on himself, which is such a bummer. So there's that meta layer where he's making a cartoon about his parents, about a character making a cartoon about his parents. It kind of just keeps going.
Yeah, it's wild, and it's so well done, though. I don't even know how to explain it. There's also a moment while we're talking about meta, and this is jumping forward a little bit, where they go to a studio tour because they're trying to... Okay, well, actually, let's back up before we get there.
Yeah. Rocko and Filbert are watching the show, and we get to just see the show for a while.
The show itself is just bizarre, and for some reason in the theme song, they're, like, beating each other up with
parking meters.
Which is apparently, like, a standard prop in this, because Filbert and Rocko are both, like, holding on to parking meter props while they're watching the show in, like, big head shirts and everything. You know, they're major fans.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some fancy French, like, film term for what that object is, but it's definitely the object in which the whole show is designed around. It's like the title cards of all of the Fatheads are on a parking meter, and it says, like, there's a message that pops up that, like, gives you a ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
The specificity is really strong in the Fatheads, and it's also very vaudevillian. Like, I feel like we talk about vaudeville a decent amount on the show, because cartoons owe a lot to that style of entertainment, you know, especially like the Fairly Odd Parents, or even Ren and Stimpy is very vaudevillian, this sort of wild and fancy-free music going around. But the Fatheads, whenever they make a joke, they turn and look directly at the camera and start giggling. It's hysterical. It's so out of character. It's so abrupt. I love it.
Yeah, God, also, quick backtrack, there's a moment at the beginning of this where there's two pigs on a blanket, and the one pig turns to the other pig, and he's like, oh, this is really funny, both of us, two pigs, sitting here eating sandwiches on this blanket, which, you know, obviously is getting at, like, a pigs in the blanket joke, and then he's like, 'cause we're pigs, we can't talk. That's what makes this scene very humorous. It's just so funny.
Yeah, Rocko's is a very smart show, and I never saw it as such in the past. It operates on a lot of levels. Like, the meta commentary, just the writing of the show within a show is so self-aware and hysterical. And I love watching Rocko and Filbert watch the show. Like, every joke that's made, you hear Filbert cackling at the top of his lungs, like, even while we're watching the show. It's so good.
I also just love Filbert in general and his enjoyment of everything.
He's my favorite
grade A.
character in the show. He is just a delight.
Yeah, and then they realize that the show is made by Ralph Bighead, and they're like, oh, Bighead, he must be related to them other big heads, right?
Yeah.
And so they head over.
They head over, and there's a no solicitors sign on the door. And in the show, Mr. Fathead assaults a solicitor. The continuity is really strong.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of little details, too. We watched this through twice, because it'd been a little bit, and I caught a lot of little details that I did not get the first time around.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of little layers. There's a lot of little moments in here. But, yeah, so they go over there, and I don't remember exactly how they bring it up, but they bring up the whole Ralph thing, and the mom just starts losing it.
Well, Rocko gets smashed in the door.
Oh, you're right, yes.
Talks to her
straight
through
up, like,
the
halfway
door.
through the door, yeah. His head's just stuck in it, because that's just how it is. I do love how Rocko just puts up with everything, you know what I mean? Like, constantly. I feel like that's his character. Like, he's like, well, okay, I guess this is what's going on, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. And she just starts, like, crying and crying, pulls out his baby book and looks at when he was a tadpole.
They're really cute. Yeah, the baby pictures.
And then Rocko was like, well, what happened? She's like, I don't know.
Yeah, because the dad has kept this basically a secret from them. His dad was grooming Ralph to take over at Conglom-O, which is this big, fancy, sort of generic corporation. And he has Ralph, like, break the donut with him, which is apparently this big tradition, and it's about sort of indoctrinating his son into the business world. And Ralph does it, but then he bails,
well, no,
right?
He doesn't actually break the donut. That's the thing. He's like, I can't.
Right.
Oh, because he does end up with it, but he's like, I can't. I think he breaks the donut, but then he's like, I can't.
Yeah, he breaks the donut, but then he goes to give a speech, and he's like, I can't do this. I'm going to move to Hollywood, which is a sort of unsubtle social commentary about, like, the superficiality of Hollywood, hollow. So he's like, I'm going to go move out to Hollywood. I want to
be a cartoonist.
It sort of lampoons both sides that we argue about sometimes, like, jokingly, like, I'm the, bleeding heart artist and you're the corporate sellout,
Oh, yeah.
in our, like, joking banter, I hope. And that's kind of what this is, because we've got Conglom-O, which is this over-the-top, like, when Ralph Bighead quits, they all start, like, just jumping out windows in this, like, mass suicide event.
Yeah, they have, like, no idea how to handle their lives. They're like, everything's terrible. If his son isn't in the company, it's ridiculous.
They're, like, stereotypes of Wall Street executives, and then Ralph is this, I'm an artist, Dad, you don't understand me.
I do love, though, how Ralph is so... He's not overly angsty about it. He's just kind of like, well, I want to be a cartoonist, because he's got this just this straight voice going for him. Like,
I could go on and on about his voice, and we talked about it last week too. How delightful it is, and it is, and he is great, and just the way that he's he's not overly emotional. He's just kind of like, well, I want to make cartoons, Dad. That's what I want to do, and it's like the worst thing his father has ever heard. He loses it. Which is thus where he gets the title, I have no son, right? Yeah.
And then we get a
nice reversal of it later where Ralph says, I have no parents to Rocko.
Yeah.
But yeah, so part one is basically building the world of this relationship and this family dynamic of the big heads. And if we're being honest, like, I could watch an entire spin-off about the big heads. I think they're fascinating and hilarious.
I would be down for that as well. I think I think part of it, too, is how much real experience he pulls in from his real life.
Yeah.
But right, this is then where they hit up the studio.
Yeah, that's part two is mostly about Rocko trying to, one, because he's starstruck by Ralph and wants to, like, meet his idol, and two, he seems to want to help Mrs. Bighead mend their family. So he's like, okay, they're going to do a tour, Rocko and Filbert, of the set, and they go to like what looked just like the Warner Brothers tour I did in LA. They're driving around on a little cart learning about how cartoons are made, and the world of cartoon making within Rocko's Modern Life is really interesting. It's like this combination of live action and drawing, right?
Right. And this is also where that meta moment I was referring to way back when pops up, where they like pop into somewhere and I forget exactly what they say, but it's something like, oh, and then then Rocko walks into the room and says, and they're like, oh, wrong cartoon. And we're like clearly in a storyboard about Rocko's Modern Life.
Right, it even goes deeper than that. They're talking about the exact moment they're in.
Yes.
He goes, so then Rocko and the Rhino guy open the door, and there they are.
It's hilarious. It's so easy to miss.
Clever.
You know, like you could easily skim over it. But there it is.
I can't think of any other, like, gag that's like that, where they walk in on their own moment in a cartoon.
Yes,
that's
like
so good.
The literal moment of them being written. It's grade A. We also get, and Casey caught this one, this moment where they're discussing one of the new episodes of the Fatheads, and there's, like, this phone gag that they're referencing, where it's, like, I forgot exactly. It's like they're
like, and then he answers the phone and says, hello?
And they're like, oh, brilliant, that's so good.
It's a classic anti-joke. But what's funny is in Wacky Deli, Heifer is obsessed with working in a phone joke. It's not even a joke. The phone rings and then they answer it.
Yes. Which,
in Wacky Deli. And they write that in.
I almost feel like there's a story behind that somewhere. Like, somebody in real life thought, like, that was a grade A joke, and he, like, can't get over it, and he keeps referencing it in everything he does.
It's just funny because it's so bland. Like,
yes.
It's just a phone.
The phone rings, and then they answer it. It's like,
and
yep,
I love
yep.
I love that they chose to make it animation within animation. And there are parts of live action. They pop into a room and there are two guys like going, I love it, give me more. And they're like drawing and stuff. And Rocko's like, oh, so is that how all cartoons are made? And the tour guide just goes, no, those guys are just freaks.
Yeah. Also, Ralph himself has these executives that just follow him everywhere, like agreeing with him constantly, like, oh, yes, whatever you say, like, and he fires them all, and they're still all like, oh, yes, okay, fired, good, yes.
Well, and I'm in a Star Wars sort of mode because I saw The Last Jedi recently, but Ralph Bighead has this sort of Kylo Ren sort of passive emo thing to him, where he's watching, they're showing him the newest episode, and he just goes, where's the pain? I thought that was so good. This wounded artist type, you know, but he's keeping it all in. It's all external, or it's all internal. And they all start muttering, "Sure, I'll do anything you want. Charlie Horse, want a sock in the head?"
They're good stuff.
And then Filbert buys all the toys in the gift shop.
Oh my god, yeah, because the tour guide too has like this smiley face on a stick, and Filbert's like, I want to buy one of these and 3 of these and 2 of these, and oh my god, look at this, and then he's like, but it's too much money, and the tour guide just like flips it over to the other side, and it's a sad face, and you can feel the money hungry tour guide here, but and he actually is going to buy it, and then they get distracted.
The yes men come through with Ralph, and they think, oh, I think that's Ralph Bighead, which is kind of a neat writing thing, where they don't know what he looks like, except from the baby pictures, but they don't really see adult pictures of him, and they're like, well, maybe that's him, let's go. And they're following along, and they're pretending to be yes men. He fires them all, like we discussed, but Rocko and Filbert don't really work for him, so they use that sort of loophole to stick around, and they say, we don't work for you. We're here because of your parents. And he goes, I have no parents. Right. And
this is sort of when, you know, we figure out that he's not really feeling like seeing them. And this is when he goes into like his fit of nevers, right?
Yep. And it's funny because whenever I like Google search Ralph Bighead, which I do pretty often, the autofill always says Ralph Bighead never.
Nice.
So people must love this clip. Maybe it's like a reaction clip that gets thrown around.
Yeah, he's like, I never want to see them again. Never, 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 never. Like, increasingly intense. And it goes on, it's one of those things, like, it goes on for longer than should be funny, but then keeps going so it's still funny. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah, the Seth MacFarlane formula.
Right.
And it changes enough. You know, his tone is changing.
Yes.
It becomes more neurotic. Yeah, the writing of the show is just airtight. It's, this is such a great episode. And now I remember thinking, how on earth is Rocko's going to entertain me through an entire movie? And after watching this 30-minute special, I totally get it. I'm on board.
I desperately hope the big heads are in it, though.
And I think
I know
they'll have
nothing
fun
about
with the modern of modern life, sort of updating it to now.
Absolutely. And, man, and when is that slated to show up in our lives?
Sometime this year, I thought. I don't have a date.
That sounds right. Okay.
I don't think there is a date yet.
I didn't think so, but I didn't know if I missed it. It's hard to keep track of all these things, but...
Maybe we got lucky and we just did our version of Arnold's parents with this episode. Like, it gives us all the backstory we need.
That would be grade A.
That we get to the end. All we really have left is the very sweet, surprisingly emotional ending.
It's pretty solid. So he goes to this banquet, and he's originally planning on, like, going there to, like, tell his parents off or something. I forget what the deal all is. But then, instead, it becomes this nice, sweet moment. We find out his dad has kept his half of the donut, and Ralph has kept his other half of the donut. You know, they've kept it all these years. It's a symbol of caring, you know?
They both kept it, and then they both tear up. It's really cute.
Yeah. And
even the dad says, I don't care about Conglommo, I care... Or no, he goes, you kept it all these years? And Ralph says, I don't care about Conglommo, I care about you. Which is such a nice statement. You know, we all have people in our lives that we care about who like something we don't, but, like, you kind of put up with the thing, whatever it is, and you're like, you like this, and it makes you happy, so I'm gonna, like, get you a gift related to it, or hold on to something that makes me think of it, you know?
Right. There is a brief moment where he, that he's like, oh, wait, you're making money?
So funny that they're able to bond over, like, now that his son is this big success financially.
Right. But other than that, it's great. We also then, after all of the cuteness, we get this moment where we're watching, well, all of them are watching the fat heads, the big heads, and Rocko and Filbert and Heifer, and Rollo shows up, and you can see on Rocko's face him, like, recognizing, like, wait a second, they're making fun of all of us, but nobody else really picks up on it, you know? They all just keep laughing.
Yep. It's funny because I expected Rocko to sort of, like, self-reflect and learn to laugh at himself and just kind of chuckle along, but he doesn't. He just looks upset.
Yes. Like, increasingly, and everyone else is having a grand old time, laughing, chilling, and you can see he gets more and more upset. I think it's almost like he's both disturbed by them making jokes about him, and also just, like, we're all sitting here, I'm the only one seeing this, am I the only one seeing this?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it's a great ending, and it, like I said, it subverts the trope. It's like, I was thinking it would be Rocko being like, haha, we can all laugh at ourselves, this is fun, but nope, he's just like, this is really weird.
Which, to be fair, is a little bit weird.
It's very weird.
Very final moment is Heifer just saying, like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is one of the only moments we really get of Heifer in this episode, and
it's another meta joke, because he wasn't there for everything that happened, so of course he wouldn't get the episode that's about what just happened.
Right. But overall, I think we can both agree this episode is solid, just all around. Great jokes. We had some great music in there, too. You know, I love the world of the fat heads. I don't know that they show up in any other episodes or if Ralph shows up in many other episodes, but regardless of that, Rocko's definitely deserves more of a chance. And not just because of this episode. We also had, the High Five of Doom.
Oh, High Five of Doom was so good.
So funny.
I really want to find a way to work nice melons, high five into my daily, like, vocabulary. But
I don't think there's any way you can do that.
Not a good idea. Except maybe just with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would get it, so...
Right.
With a stranger, it might be questionable.
Yeah, just random people on the subway.
Nice melons. Well, you have to wait for somebody to be around melons, though, is the thing. You gotta go to the grocery store. Just wait around the melon section.
Yeah.
And hope for someone to walk by.
And then speaking of the music, we get this, like, real big band music in the flashback, and it's the Lily Pad Players is the band that's playing. I thought that was really cute. It's like this frog big band. Yeah, this show, all the little details, like, I'm pretty sure we could rewatch this episode 5 or 6 times and I'd still be catching new little things. There's so much thought put behind everything. There's so much thought behind all of the jokes, and I absolutely loved it. Very compact, yeah. Oh, and also, I keep thinking, like, we gotta move on, but, like, this is great that we're able to just take 20 minutes to talk about this episode. Yeah, I'm really feeling this format. It's also just, I don't know, it just feels more like I can really focus in on one episode. Sometimes when we watch the third, I start forgetting details about the other one, but it's a lot easier to keep track of just the one episode. So hopefully you guys are going to start feeling this format too. I know it'll be a little bit different for a while, but I think it'll be a good thing. I think so as well. Do you have any remaining thoughts on this? No, I think we've just about covered it. I know I say this about, like, all of the good episodes, but you should watch it, guys. Yeah, go watch it. So, a longtime listener, Celeste, suggested that we do the same thing we did for We're in Between, where we do a yay, nay, or meh. I'm thinking, because we do a different show every week, that's not quite gonna work, because it's hard to compare between each other. It's a good idea, I'm not really interested in reviewing the episodes, per se, but... Ashley, I want to make an exception for this one because I just thought of a brilliant pun. Is this episode a hoot or newt? You know what? Like, I would say, without a doubt, Casey, that was a hoot. Nice. And newt, not as in our reptilian or amphibian friends of Waffle from Cat Scratch. It's like a Canadian pronunciation of not, which isn't how that works at all. But look, guys, it all worked out, and it was worth it. That was a hoot for me as well. Did you see the Nick Splat Facebook page did one of those, like, if you start the Rocko's theme song, I think I sent it to you. It's like, if you start the Rocko's theme song at 11:58 whatever, you'll start 2018 with a hoot. That's beautiful. I'll have to remember that for 2019, because I did not have that video prepped at the time. I don't think anyone did. Like, that was the meme of December, but I don't know if anyone actually did any of those. That's fair. But it's still funny as a concept, you know? Is. It's great. I think we're covered it all now, right? Every base, yep. And we will not have trivia anymore. We are going right to our conclusion. Which, just to point this out, we won't have trivia anymore because I won. Our Twitter poll for this week is, do you guys want us on YouTube or not? See, I set up an account and I've been all ready to go, but, like, we're starting to think, would you guys listen to it on YouTube? Would you like to have a comment section? Would that be something that would be fun to participate in? I love reading the We're in Between comments on YouTube, so if, like, this will encourage fan interaction, I'm all for it. But if you guys are like, nope, I listen to Casey and Ashley on my commute to work, in the tub, whatever you do, let us know so that I don't put in a ton of work and have no one watch them. Yeah, and we are 100% open to either way. We're not saying it like, do you watch the show? We're just wondering, is YouTube a reasonable outlet? Would you guys want us to be up in there? Yes, no, let us know. Also, next week, we decided, in honor of my beautiful painting that I've received, we are going to be watching Artist Unknown from SpongeBob. It's been a while since we've done a good old classic SpongeBob episode, and I am pumped. Yep, and this past week, we heard a lot from you guys in the last few weeks, so thank you for the outpouring of support for our new version of the show. We know we have listeners, but sometimes it starts to feel like, oh man, no one tweeted at us that week. Did anyone listen? So we heard a lot from you guys. We got a lot of ideas, and Cam, a longtime listener, said that we should rightfully said that we haven't done My Life as a Teenage Robot in a while, so I have a feeling the week after this next one we'll be diving into one of your suggestions for that. I encourage other listeners to send in their own episode submissions, your favorite Nicktoon episodes that you can't believe we haven't covered as we approach watching 200 pieces of Nicktoon media.
Which, dang, we've covered so much, and that's part of why, we really fought to find a way to keep this going, and I'm so glad that we're going to keep having new and also old Nicktoon episodes for us to really delve into, but I'm excited to return to some good old SpongeBob moments.
Me too. That'll be so much fun. Also, guys, make sure to follow us on Twitter, FNN_podcast. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/FNN podcast. And go ahead and give us an iTunes review, please. We keep getting more of those, and it's really exciting, so I'm going to keep saying it. It's not like Spotify, where you can just, do it, and then it goes away. You're going to have to keep hearing this pitch every week, but thank you to those of you who have done that.
And with that, thanks as always, you guys, for listening, and we'll see you next week.